Last day, good morning to you. Over the last year, we've told you about groups of travellers illegally setting up camp everywhere from park and rides to village greens in Somerset. It happened in Barrow near Burnham in the summer holidays. Barry Q is the chair of the parish council.
It was quite severe because they had their washing, drying on the football pitches. They more or less took over half of the village green, the footpath and bridleway which is behind, and also around the village pond area. There was a lot of antisocial behaviour around. Police were called several times overnight. Their human waste, if you like, from there was strewn all over the footpath and around the village ponds.
Now the Conservative MP for Wells, James Heappey, says he's had enough and is calling for tougher rules on travellers who break the law. We'll hear more from James in a moment. First, Sally Woodbury was on the programme earlier, spoke to me. She's a Romany gypsy who lives in Taunton and has worked with several organisations supporting gypsy and traveller communities.
To be honest with you, if the council had a place that they could go, I would back that 100%.
But that doesn't mean you can break the law and not pay a parking fine.
Well, then that's up to the councils, but it also, government has told councils to build sites, and they're breaking the law by not building them. So it goes both ways. If you do not provide accommodation for them and these things are happening, that is why they're not finding them, because they can't find them because they haven't got anywhere for them to go. They haven't done their side of the rules. They haven't built sites. They have been told they should build sites. These things wouldn't happen.
BBC Somerset's politics reporter James Craig has been speaking to the Wells MP, James Heappey. He told him that local councils need more support to tackle the problem of illegal traveller sites.
Yes, it is the district council's responsibility, but there is a very difficult balance for them to strike, because these legal proceedings that they must initiate every time are expensive and they are costing the taxpayer money. And what the problem is for district councils is that they are striking at shadows, because no sooner have they gone through all of the legal process and spent yours and my tax money in embarking on these legal processes, the travellers are very, very well informed about what their legal rights are and what the timelines are for putting in place all of the various legal processes. And what that means is that they tend to leave on the final day before they themselves would either A, have broken the law, or B, would be required to incur some legal costs of their own. So it means that all of this money is being poured down the drain by our district councils trying to get rid of these illegal encampments, only for the end them to move on because the time has come and they don't want to incur any cost themselves.
What needs to change here? What do you actually want the government to do about this?
Well, at all levels, actually. I mean, I want, let's start with the county council. I want the county council to rewrite their contract with their parking enforcement company so that travellers get tickets. Because at the moment, it is absolutely nuts that a traveller can set up camp in a car park and not be ticketed at all on the assumption that if they were to be ticketed, it would turn violent. And what that means, of course, is that they don't have to actually do anything. They just park, know they're not going to get ticketed, know that they are therefore not going to need to be violent, if indeed that was what they were. And so the police aren't interested because they've not done anything wrong. So locally, as a matter of fairness, I'd like to see the county council rewriting their policy so that travellers get ticketed when they park illegally in public car parks. As for what government does, I think that government needs to have a really good look at this legal process that they have put in place, which means that councils have to spend a few £1,000s every time to go through a process that is guaranteed to last at least 2 to 3 weeks, and the travellers know that it takes that long, because that is just incurring cost, and it's a game of whack-a-mole, because as soon as the legal process is just about to come into effect, the travellers move on and the money is wasted. We need to see from government a much quicker legal process, and we need to see it costing district councils nothing. What the travelling community need to understand is that there are legal travellers' pitches for them to use. And if there aren't enough left in a certain county, then that county is full, frankly, and they need to go on to somewhere else until there is a pitch available within the county that they were trying to get to. But we cannot continue to have this process where they are setting up illegal encampments and the legal process is so cumbersome that they are guaranteed 2 to 3 weeks of being able to stay there before the legal process comes into effect and they're moved on.
Is that fair, though, on travellers? It's not their fault if there aren't enough legal encampments in a certain area, are there? We know over the past years that various parts of Somerset have been told that they will need more pitches for travellers in the future. But it's not the travellers' fault if those aren't there, is it?
Well, James, you tell me how many pitches Somerset should provide, because I think are you suggesting that Somerset should provide the number of pitches that the demand dictates?
No, but over the past couple of years, various district councils have said they acknowledge that they do have to provide more pitches.
Why? Why, though? Why? I mean, that is the key question. There are traveller pitches within Somerset. It is not the full-time residents of Somerset who are at fault for the fact that Somerset appears to be quite a popular place for travellers to visit. Why is it, I'm asking, that Somerset should provide an unlimited number of pitches to meet that demand?
So to your mind, that's not something that our councils should have to consider doing?
No, if our councils have provided a reasonable number of traveller pitches, I wouldn't mind betting that virtually all of your listeners today will agree with me that that is the council having made reasonable provision for the travelling community. And Somerset cannot be expected to provide an unlimited number of pitches just because we happen to be a popular place for travellers to visit.
That's the Conservative MP for Wells, James Heappey, speaking to BBC Somerset's politics reporter James Craig. We asked the government's Department for Communities and Local Government for a response to Mr Heappey's concerns. It says councils and the police have an array of powers to tackle prompt action against illegal encampments. It also says it's strengthened the powers councils have to enforce planning rules and take action against breaches. We also asked Mendip and Sedgemoor district councils if they would consider issuing parking tickets to travellers who illegally use their car parks. Sedgemoor says issuing a penalty charge notice is not appropriate, and it does not want the travellers to park in bays or pay for a ticket. It says instead they want them to move to a more appropriate location. Mendip District Council says it has limited resources, so focus on moving the travellers on as quickly as possible rather than requesting payment for parking. They say on these occasions it suspends parking charges in the affected car park and puts bags over the ticket machines so its regular car park users may also park for